My name is Paris. The
Hi,
first key that I
Paris.
found. Hi. The first key that I found was my house keys. They were in my book bag.
You said it was the house key. Okay. Well, nice meeting you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And you are the winner of this beautiful gift card. So
Yay!
thank you. Congratulations. Does anyone else want to introduce themselves before we get started? Tell me what key is in question. Well, I do see someone by the name Elijah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We get to hear more from you throughout the session. So, in my possession, I actually have this giant key. I don't know why this key so made so big, but whatever door it's made, I'm imagining the lock can be opened. Can you guys see it? It's kind of hard to see with my lighting on here, but I am pleased and honored to have the opportunity to share about the keys. Keys definitely serve a purpose in our life. Some keys, like the one that I just showed, some are just for destinations, some are just for into and from. Some of them give access into places. So I don't know what keys are in your possession, but I will hope that the discipline key is one of those keys that you use to unlock the door. So getting started, let's talk about what exactly discipline is. What is discipline? Discipline is the power to do something. It's reactive. It's all of your thoughts and your behavior. It's proactive. It taking the initiative to act in advance. It's also the ability to regulate yourself in order to achieve your goals and maintain a lifestyle. And it also includes conscious choices that will align with your goals. Discipline does not mean control, but it means having the sense to. Next thing, a part of building this disciplined life and having self discipline, eliminate distractions. Now, just we talked about keys, they serve different purposes. Keys can also be lost. There are opportunities where we can lose our keys that we have to unlock doors. And one of the ways that we can lose those is by having an entertaining distraction. So to minimize that and to stay focused on reaching that goal, you have to eliminate the distractions. So know what the triggers are. Triggers are very important. Very, very important. If something really frustrates you, being aware of yourself in that process and knowing how to move and navigate around that could probably be beneficial to you. But if you get into that trigger and really go off, sometimes you may miss out and lose what wanted you to do in that situation, or lose the relationship that you needed to get from point A to point B, or the resource that's in front of you. Being savvy to know your trigger is very important. Temptations not also just the giving into like all of the bad stuff that we know. Temptation is also anything that will cause you to be distracted from your ultimate goal. So if you know that you have to, if you want to be a speaker one day and you want to work on your speaking, the temptation could be listening to a bunch of negative talk, listening to a lot of profanity. That may not help you in your ultimate goal. So exercising discipline would be listening to people talk well, listening to people's content that they, and also making changes to your environment. Your environment can play a huge role in how you overcome temptations. If you know that you like cotton candy, for an example, or you like candy, you may not want to have a poster in your environment with a cotton candy on it, a picture of cotton candy. So taking that poster down is a basic example, but that poster could be a mental reminder and set you up to fail. The other thing is about self-discipline. And when you're talking about eliminating distractions, establish those boundaries that you need to have physically for your physical body, mentally for your mindset, spiritually for your spirit and your faith, and financially, because you're definitely going to need to invest along the way into your purpose and the things that you have to do. A part of eliminating those distractions and practicing self discipline, living a life of self discipline, you will have to remove bad influences. That could be from the things that you watch, listen to, things that you're eating, consuming into your mind, your heart. How to remove those things that will influence you to get off track. And then the last thing about distractions is get in situations to do your best. Always show up with your best self. Don't come halfway. Don't try to cut corners. Living a life of discipline, you're putting in the work. You're doing the work necessary, doing exactly what needs to be happening in that space and time that you are there. You're trying to do your best. Even if you don't feel like it, you still got to put your best foot forward. Are there any questions at this moment? I just want to check in with everybody. Are there any questions? If there are, please do post in the chat. If there are no questions, I'll keep going. The next thing is know thyself. Okay. Build self awareness. The self awareness that you need to have about yourself is understanding your strengths, things that you know you're good at. Can't nobody tell you can't do it. You are fully confident in that thing. You flow well, you do it well. That's one thing about yourself. But also, along with that, knowing your weaknesses. What are you not so good about that you know that you got to get it together to reach this goal? What is it that you have to actually work hard to do? I consider a weakness an opportunity for growth. How can you grow in that area? And also identify the patterns and the habits that are associated with those weaknesses. Just like the patterns that are good with your strengths. If you know that you want to write and you write very well, can't nobody tell you how to write. You got your own swag, you got your own thing, how you do it. Even if a professor reads your paper, they have to respect your work. Is someone saying something? I just want to check in. No, I thought I heard somebody talking. Um, but also knowing those patterns, if you know you're good at something, there's a healthy pattern to a great writer. They have a personal writing room. And they have times in their writing room it looks different. They may have people in there that contribute to the work that they put out. So they may have people in there that are brainstorming. They may have different types of decorations around. They may have a different type of writer. Different all types of writers, actually experienced or inexperienced people in their writing room. That's a part of their strength. That's how they show up as their best self. That's just one example. That's a good, healthy pattern to establish. Okay, I need to be with people who are stronger than me, where I can continue to be sharpened along the way. But weaknesses, opportunities for growth. Often, if you have a weakness, there's a bad habit that's associated with it, and it could just be a negative thought about yourself. Poor self-esteem, thinking lowly of your abilities. That could just be the underlying issue of a weakness and why you may not carry out to the best of your ability. Knowing your frustrations. Frustrations are going to come along the way. This is the this is the truth. But how you handle your frustration is very important because your path to reaching your goal is not going to be peachy creamy all the way. There are going to be some bumps and lumps, thumps in the way, and frustrations are going to arise. So knowing yourself, how to get out of those situations are very important. If you know something is a trigger, it irritates you a little bit, maybe you need to exercise advocating for yourself in those moments versus going off on the deep end, maybe cursing someone out if they really tick you off. But maybe you can say, have you considered this in a conversation of frustration with someone? Another thing is preferences. What we would like sometimes is ideal compared to the reality. Knowing yourself, knowing the standard by which you operate and what you're hoping to accomplish, you got to have a personal standard. And sometimes, if you're in environments that go below that standard, that may be challenging to you, it's not always a bad thing, but make sure that that's in alignment with your goal. Like if you want to build work experience, for an example, but you have to work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
McDonald's is not a bad workplace.
Wow.
McDonald's is not a bad workplace, but they may get on your nerves because it may not be what you're used to or what you would like for yourself if you want to go in business one day. But that is a stepping stone. So sometimes that may be something that you have to take on, even though it's below your preference, but know yourself in that situation. This is not the end for me. This is just the beginning. The next thing is delay your gratification. And here's a perfect image of what I mean by that. You see the person with the weight on the end of his rod, his hook that says enjoy today. Do not bite at the bait of pleasure till you know there's no hook beneath it. That's what Thomas Jefferson said. Do not bite at the bait of pleasure till you know there is no hook beneath it. Sometimes if we bite at the first thing that comes, even though we know it's not going to help us, because it seems pleasurable at that moment, we could be setting ourselves up. And ultimately, just like in this image, he has nothing to fall back on. There's no type of accountability, no support, probably no God, to be honest, that's holding him together. But he has nothing to fall back on. So if there's something that comes to you along the way on your journey, really sit and count up the cost of how that's going to impact you in the long run. So if you have a goal in your heart, which ultimately is a vision that God put on the inside of you, that you know that you have to fulfill, you have to work towards, be careful not to get hooked in things that's not a part of that purpose and not a part of that plan. Because it's very easy. There's always going to be something that's going to be more glittery. It seems like, oh, I can kind of squeeze it in what I'm trying to do. And then next thing you know, you get up in it. And now you're taking a whole detour around the block with something that has nothing to do with what you're called to do. The next thing about discipline and having a self discipline and practicing that, you have to be willing to leave your comfort zone. Ignore the negative self talk. There's always going to be something trying to talk you out of the promise that promised you in your heart. And do not give into it, because a lot of times God will be stretching you beyond what you know, what you have experienced, what people have told you. He may require you to step outside of that line, which is life, and life tends to life sometimes. So life be lifing, but that does not mean that we cannot step over that line. That doesn't mean we cannot break out. So counteract the fear of the unknown. And how you do that is have faith in words. Know your thoughts surrounding that. You got to counteract the thoughts of fear. Often fear is not even real. It's just something that you're assuming that might happen. It may never show up along the way. And also consider your actions. What are you doing is contributing to you living outside of what the limit that you put for yourself. So remove those limits. Take calculated risks. Embrace learning and growing opportunities. So now that we talked about the good part and the bad part of having discipline and some other about it, what is it going to cost you not being disciplined? Does anybody have any type of guess of what it looked like? You're welcome to share if you'd like. So the cost of not being disciplined is it's going to be very costly. It's going to be expensive. It might cost you your peace at the end of the day. It might cost you a very good, solid relationship at the end of the day. It might cost one of your resources in your possession at the end of the day. It might cost you giving up your keys at some point of the day. You could literally yourself in a situation to be robbed of what God has put inside of you. It's time, very time consuming, because now you have to put more time into accomplishing something, either learning something that you should have learned or taking a step back to take a step forward. But it put more time on the intended plan that God has for you. It will also be error prone. You'll make mistakes that you probably didn't even intend to make just because you didn't know everything about that thing. You can make more mistakes. And ultimately that will damage your confidence and hinder your mental health. Your confidence is important along the way. If you cannot see the positive side of why you're doing what you're doing and why it's necessary, and you don't have confidence, then chances are your mental health is going to be a different level. The point when you're sitting back thinking about your decisions that you've made, stuff that you may have lost or uh, had to pay for that was more than what you did, or how much time you wasted, then you depression, or you may feel anger, or you may be anxious about your future. But all of that at the expense of not practicing discipline at your goal. There's a quote this Jefferson also said, evil triumphs when good means nothing. The reality is you're meant and you were created by God to over certain evils that the people you could not. So you're really at an advantage because with the vision that you have, God has intended for you to be an overcomer. He's intended for you to break chains. He's intended you for you to be so the second to obtain certain things and go in your family that those around you may have never, but you will be the chosen person that and you to do that. And when you don't do that, evil is going to continue to win in the world. The world is changing and they need you. They need you up as your best self, that God fearing person that God has ordained to shake the mountains of the world. So if you not paying attention to how you're living, you're not living disciplined enough, ultimately they're gonna win. And we don't want that. We don't want that. Thing is building a support team. And the reason why I say building is some people have the privilege of having others around them to support them. Well, if that's you, you have the opportunity to still build. You may look at what you do not have, but you also have the opportunity to build something you never had as well. And God will enable you to, and He'll provide what you need along the way. So, how you can do that is identify relationships and external sources of encouragement, your mom, your friends, Miss Christine program, that could be your teachers, that could be church, the community. But find those out of you that can encourage you, that can enlighten you and motivate you. Also, with support, you have to know when to back away at and not be solely dependent on that. Now you have to exercise autonomy, and that's the ability to stand independently in the decision you want to make concerning your life. Their input is very critical and important. At the end of the day, you have to be able to do what's in your heart concerning your life and your situation. Aim to demonstrate self-efficacy. That's the same point that I'm making, but it deals with the drive and motivation to do it. It takes a lot of self-motivation and independence to stand in what you believe it's going to take to reach your goal. Have confidence in yourself. Have space and time apart to work on yourself. They're critical. If you're always around other people and what other people have to say, but you never have time for yourself in solitude, sometimes you may not even hear your own voice. You do have a voice. You do have things that God wants to minister to you personally about, that He wants to do that's specific to you. So having that time for yourself is very critical. Be present. That's the other thing. Discipline is the bridge between goal and accomplishment. That's what Jim Rohn said. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. So it's the bridge that you gotta before you when you first start out, you gotta go, then you gotta cross the bridge of discipline, and eventually you're gonna come to what you're trying to accomplish. So how do you do that? Be present in your process where you are now. Express gratitude for who you are and where you're going. Maintain patience along the way, and I keep stressing patience throughout this patient because good things really do come to that way. Walk it out. It's tailored to you. Be unique. Some there may be a couple of people around you that are doing the same thing as you. Don't get discouraged and say I'm doing that because this person is doing that. No, do what you want to do as God is allowed and put it in your heart to do, but you be yourself. Do it how you would do it because no one can do it. You're the only one that has the print that you have. Do the best that you can. The other part to this disciplined life and building a life of self discipline, we have to do searching. Soul searching is important because there are different dynamics to our will, power to do things, and also our spirit man. And clashing. When I say soul searching, identify areas where those parts, your faith and things of your will and what you want to do, what you like doing, see how if that's clashing. If it's clashing, then you kind of have to work on making the proper adjustments so they can be working together in harmony. So that's what I mean by soul searching. Ensuring that your faith and is matching the purpose and the goal that you have. And if it's not, if it's going against his desired will plan, he's gonna let you know. He's definitely gonna let you know your relationship with him. And growing the knowledge he wants you to have surrounding that and also enhance your vision. There are gonna come plenty of opportunities to grow in the goal that he's given. And those things that come along the way are to enhance. It's not taking away from what you already started with, but it's just making it better over time. So identify obstacles, emotional obstacles, what are impacting your journey. Feelings can change. You never want to be dependent on that. Thoughts are influencing your behaviors. Behaviors are what you do and not who you are. Behaviors are really true to who you are. Sticking to your identity in God will help you navigate behaviors that match. And you can easily change them. Once you separate it from who you are, you can change those behaviors. It could be overeating cotton candy, for example. You know that you're called to live healthy. Your soul is supposed to prosper. Your health is supposed to prosper. But eating candy may not be ideal for you. That's a behavior, but that doesn't mean that you are this lazy, unhealthy. And that's just one thing that you're doing. But that one thing can have you think negatively about the whole being, which we don't want to do. How can you move past things physically? Something's physically hindering you. It's dieting, it could be your sleep patterns. How can you move past that? You have to put things in your process to where you can move past it successfully. And spiritually, are you serving God? Are you living to someone beyond yourself? Because the reality of valuing discipline, it definitely starts with God. No point of you working so hard to reach a goal that God is not stamping you to do. That will just be so much harder for you because it's outside of what he and he will for you. So having that action with God and asking of God, what is my purpose? What you ordained me to do? Show me how to get. He will give you that, and He will send help. Will not be forced to come up with it on your own. He will give it to you, and it will come naturally. Excellence is perseverance in the presence of obstacles. No matter what's coming, still show up as your best self. Easier said than done. But if you make it a habit time, you'll know people will no longer know what you're going because they see you show up good each time. Become organized. Being disciplined, you have to become organized. Remember, I was talking about taking down posters that remind you of things. Choose environments compatible to help you reach your goal. Remove the clutter. Throw out the trash. Have daily reminders that are visible. Keep things in its proper place. You live disorganized. Obtaining discipline will be a challenge because you'll be all over the place. But discipline helps put you in the order, the right steps. Eventually, you'll see your goal come to pass. But it definitely starts with your environment. If you know that you want to accomplish being in school, then maybe having a dirty room or a dirty desk will not help you get there. Cleaning that desk up, ensuring you have a work, that could be a perfect example of how you could become organized. Don't settle for rewards. Remember, I was saying there's a saying, money is not good money, which is true. Some money comes from not an honest work ethic, not an honest living. And so, what you want to do is, as you're doing the right thing to reach your goal, don't settle for the reward. There'll be plenty of rewards to come when you're doing the right thing. When you're working hard to reach your goal, stuff going to come your way, recognition, awards, extra money, friends, people. You're going to have all kind of rewards come, but don't settle for that. So check in with yourself along the way. How am I doing? How am I getting there? Am I moving too slow? Do I speed up the process? Continue to find ways to develop and improve yourself and increase knowledge. Cultivate a healthy soul. Remember, I was talking about soul searching. What are the ways and things that you do to cultivate a healthy soul? Because another that we can have to discipline, it may not look like a physical key to open the door, but it could be a book. I like to say, with a healthy soul, I like to read the Bible. That's one of the keys for my success in life. Maybe that's one of the keys that you have to take time to actually invest in and read, and it can cultivate a healthy soul. Creatively problem solve. No matter what you're doing, there's going to be an opportunity. Problems will arise. But you have to get creative and you have to get resourceful. You don't know something, not a time to just say, I don't know. No, I need to find out. So I'm going to get on Google. I'm going to consult with older people. I'm going to interview people in those fields or those things to try to come to an answer looking for to resolve a problem. If by some chance I cannot come to the answer, then I have to look and trust God to give me the solution to that problem, which He will. It's all according to your faith. Decide on your daily benchmark. What do you have to do every single day to reach this goal? Don't compromise. Don't give into peer pressure. There's going to be people around you that don't understand your mission and your purpose in its entirety. And they may put pressure on you to do things that's outside of that. Don't give into it. Stay focused on what you were intended to do all along. And do something daily to get to your goal. So if you eventually want to be a writer, then maybe starting out writing, journaling about your day every day would be great. And changing the storyline of that journal each day, creating a story attached to that. That could be a way that you are working towards your end goal of eventually writing a book. Take ownership of your habits. Be accountable, remain reachable and teachable. Being accountable means know when you that you shouldn't do and actually take responsibility to change that. Remain reachable and teachable. Gonna always be people that are trying to admonish you of things or share certain perspectives. Stay sensitive to God through that because God will use them to teach you and reach you from making a mistake that could hit you. And if by chance you still make a mistake, which you probably will, we all do, own up to those mistakes. Own to those. Demonstrate the integrity. Can you work at this thing that is in your hands to do every single day when nobody's watching, when nobody's saying good job, when no one's actually celebrating it, supporting you? Can you still work towards this? That is a part of integrity. Doing it when no one is looking. Avoid covering up areas that need to be addressed. That goes back to soul searching. If there's something that you need to address within yourself, bad habits, personality traits, things that you need to grow in, don't cover it up, but try to deal with it. There's always opportunity to talk to therapists, always opportunity to talk to mentors, teachers, other professionals, people in your community where you can kind of work through those issues. Take advantage of and avoid the blame game. You take responsibility for what you do. Allow no one else to put their blame on you for why they couldn't reach their goal, and you don't do the same to others. You take responsibility for what you do in this process. So how are you going to do that with discipline? Get started. Take the first step. Stay confident. Keep your motivation. Remember your purpose. You're here to make an impact. Begin moving and taking action steps. Just start. It's okay to take small steps. Show yourself some grace. You're gonna have opportunities where you can be hard on yourself, but you also need opportunities to show yourself grace when you don't do everything that you envision. Have some patience with yourself and don't compare yourself to others. No one can be like you. Set manageable regular habits. Work little by little to replace old habits with good ones. Pay attention to the small things, the things that you entertain that you think, oh, that's not that bad. That could definitely hinder you in living a disciplined life. And being disciplined, there are times you do have to cut out the small things. Faithful over the little. There are things that you may not have a lot of, but you have just enough to do. Stay faithful and then work with it. Eventually, it's going to grow and you'll have more. Strive to master areas regularly. So anything that you see that you need to change, try to master that over time. Find your pace, your momentum. Start small and gradually increase over time. Know your limits and your parameters. There's always going to be a limit that God has set for you. Try to figure out what God wants you to not go past, his parameters that set for you to do the thing that he called you to do. Don't cheat. Do the work, remain honest, endure the process. Something you don't know, ask for help. Uh, this quote says, I would prefer even to fail with honor than to win by cheating. Schedule time and enjoy downtime. Refrain to refocus yourself. This is what I'm talking about. You cannot grind 24/7 and don't have time to actually uh, refrain from doing that thing. So you got to stop doing that, have some fun, do something you love, rest, and then reflect on your process if that's you, if you're a reflector type person, and figure out what you can do differently, and then pick back up where you left off. And sometimes when you pick back up, it may look different because now you have new ideas or a fresh set of eyes looking at what you're trying to do, and you're able to do things differently. There's always room for growth. Some of the ways you can grow and living discipline is incorporate being a researcher, research things, learn from others. What areas do you have that are immature that you lack in? Find out those areas and figure out what you need to start doing, stop doing, and continue doing to remain productive. Always stay productive. Don't waste your willpower or your energy. Try not to do that. Try not to be very wasteful like that. Unplug from anything that would drain you. Identify places that you may waste. If you know that you don't eat all your food on a plate, don't make a huge plate. Make a small plate. Start small, then go big. And then the other thing is connect to sources that provide more production of energy, which is your support system, education, things like that. And this concludes the actual presentation. Thank you guys for your patience. Are there any questions? I just want to check in before we get to the next part. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So now here's another opportunity for you to win a gift card. So what you're going to do, we're going to start actually right now, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write as many words that come to your head that start with D.